crazy. I've got a few friends in the crypto space and Web3 space in New York, and they have like such a big community there and a really big sort of startup scene, which is quite magical. And that's when like collaboration happens and people build, solve problems, conversations. We don't have the same sense of community in London. It's getting there, but like we need that. I think
Brits are different though, aren't they? They don't tell people about stuff. They're too polite, and I think that
a
bit of a blocker. But
like just sort of shouting about why you should join the space and like what's exciting. I think the election, Trump's election, is going to be like a big swing around like any regulation, and that's going to only support to bring more people into the space, whether that be from a talent or founder perspective. Obviously, crypto had its biggest acquisition this year. With Stripe buying Bridge. Again, like I think that's only positive tailwind for the space.
Certainly, yeah.
I think there's some interesting tailwinds now that hopefully will be good for the space, but to the point, it's like founders just continuing to keep their heads down.
Yeah. I think it's been tough. Like I think I was watching Mark Andreessen on a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about he had something like 30 of their portfolio companies that had done really well, just were like cut off from banking in the US, which he thought was pretty wild. Because you can't do much if you don't have a bank account. Probably pushes you further on chain, but I think that is tough, you know. And I think where the SEC were being say heavy-handed with how they were approaching crypto and its regulations. I think it stopped people that had good intentions, that were wanting to solve a problem in America from like, okay, I'm going to do this, because they're like, we might get a Wells notice, and you get a Wells notice, no one's going to work with you. It costs you loads of money to fight it, or it costs loads of money to roll over, because that's just how it goes. And I think that allowed for people that were going to do something they didn't care about if they got in trouble for. Do you know what I mean? So like, this is where I think it will change dramatically. I'm quite excited about it, because America is the biggest ad market in the entire world. Like, a budget in the UK for a test is somewhere between like 30 to 50,000 pounds. A test in America is at a zero, so like 300,000 to $500,000.
So you're very focused on the US from a customer base.
Slowly but surely, like it's I think like many British boy bands have learned the hard way. If you go and try and break America and it doesn't work very well, it's expensive. Takes its pound of flesh. So I think we want to do it deliberately at the right time. I think the work we're doing with Coca-Cola is going to help that a lot. So like they are supporting our growth, and like the US is obviously a huge market for Coca-Cola. So just like proving it works with them there, and then through that kind of earning the right to have big conversations, and then ultimately trying to break America, I think probably is on the roadmap somewhere. But it's only 39% of all ad budgets are spent in the US. The remaining is spent outside of that. It's just a bit more fragmented. It's a bit more regional. Like Europe's a huge market. London is brilliant for Europe, because you have, it was 6 large media agencies. It's now 5, because Omnicom and IPG have just merged, but they all have massive presences in, so like WPP headquartered in London, IPG have an enormous office in London, Omnicom, same deal, because a lot of budgets for Europe are planned from London. So it's a great ad market space to be in. It's one of the advantages of being on the GMT time zone, is you can kind of speak to everyone at any time and in English, which helps, particularly if you've got American overlords. But then Omnicom and IPG are massive in the States. So like our good relationship we have here, I hope would travel, because that's what's worked quite well for me in the past, is that I would sell software to media owners. Like Warner Brothers is a good example. I sold them a deal in London, and then we just kind of shipped that deal over to North America, and then landed all of Warner Brothers in the US.
So the relationships are already warm.
Exactly. You kind of prove, it's good to prove here, and then you can present a very good case, like it's going to work for you guys because we've shown that it works for your business. And then they can just speak to each other really easily about it. There's no language barrier. And it's quite a nice way to sneak in. It still presents its challenges, you know, because like the Spanish market is slightly different to the French market, and the German market is different to the Italian market. So like you you get good at solving problems in various regions, but in America you get to sell to a continent, so it's with largely the same language and regulations and interests. So America's going to be cool, but you never know, like who knows what's going to happen in the future. India is certainly a big and growing ad market. We have a partner there he was at Media Monks. He's moved over to a large media agency and had previously worked in New York at large media agencies, and thinks that there's like a space for Indian-based agencies to win accounts globally and service them from India, because a lot of the agencies in the UK are doing that anyway, right? So like they will have teams of people in India, so like why not do the reverse? So that will be interesting to see. It's one of the markets that's adopted blockchain the fastest. And there's 1 billion Indian people, so like it's potentially a huge market. It solves a ton of challenges. So I think it'll just be interesting to see where the technology is adopted, how it's adopted, in which regions is there ad budgets to support that. But
I think that's a good point in terms of like adoption across various different regions. I think US for money, UK and Europe for talent, and Asia for users.
It's a good way of thinking about it. But then I think there is quite a lot of talent in America, and it's just like a slightly different attitude, I think.
It is. It's like that whole sort of Stanford culture. It's not the same at Cambridge and Oxford. It's less entrepreneurial, more academic.
It is, I agree. There's nothing